MVC. So how to implement web applications using MVC that we are going to see here. This is a new chapter. Observe. First, I am going to explain the concept of MVC and FC design patterns. Then I am going to explain how to implement complete web application using Spring Boot. Okay, observe carefully. Generally, MVC, there's actually three different words. M stands for model, V stands for view, and C stands for controller. MVC means model, view, and controller. Okay, what is the meaning of model here? Okay, model means understand it's a data. Especially in case of Java. In case of Java, data can be primitive type, something like int, string, double, boolean, char, object type, employee object, admin object, product object, student object, collection type, list type, map type, set type. So in case of Java, data will be three representations: primitives, objects, and collection. Even arrays also we generally take into collection representation only. Okay, in case of array, we generally use list representation. That is going to be array list internally. Okay, these are the three different types. Data. Do you want to display the data at UI, or do you want to read the data from UI? Data will be in three different formats: primitives, objects, and collections. Second one, V stands for, that is actually view. View nothing but UI. That is also called as user interface. What is visible to end user eyes? For example, if we open any browser, this is Chrome browser, I just opened, and here we are typing something address bar. In the address bar, we are typing something like google.com or gmail.com, we are typing here. When you type something in address bar, okay, and pressing enter, finally you are able to see something in the UI. This is actually something it is displaying to you. Okay, if you look at here, something you are getting output. This is completely, we generally call as web page. Okay, so it can be something here, output you are able to see here. Whatever able to see, that is actually whatever visible to end user, this is actually called as UI, user interface. User interface. Okay, so technically this actually called as a view. Okay, what is visible to end user eyes or end user, that UI, user interface, is actually called as view. Okay, finally visible to end user. Okay, what is shown finally to end user, that is actually called a view. And see nothing but actually controller. Okay, controller nothing but actually a code which will process the request and gives the response. Okay, for example, see, you are typing something in address bar, gmail.com. When you type address bar in your computer, assumption, in your computer you are just typing the address bar and pressing enter, then it will make a request to another computer where exactly Gmail is available or Google is available, where exactly Google is available, and that is actually giving one page and that is loaded to your computer. Okay, the second computer is actually called a server. Okay, server. Okay, your computer is asking to Google server, please give me Google homepage. Okay, so that asking is nothing but actually request. Okay, request, and it is actually given response here. Google, okay, whenever request is made, some code should be executed. That code is actually called controller. That is actually called as controller. A controller is the one which will process the request and supports providing response. Of course, directly or indirectly, controller will give some response by using UI. Okay, this response will be generally it's a view. Response will be generally it's a view here. View response will be given. Controller returns view response that is loaded here into browser. That view is loaded here. You are able to see something in the browser here. Understand? Your computer makes a request processed by a class that is called controller, and controller will return some output that is called view or response here that is given here. Okay, so in Java it is a class. In Java it is a class. It will read request from browser, or we can also call it client. It will process the request and gives response using view component. Okay, so response using view component or view representation here. Okay, a simple format, if you look at here, how it is going to be, a simple format, how it is going to be. This is browser. This is browser. And here, this is server. We can also call it web browser. And this is web server. Okay, here in the web server, I want to implement one web application. Okay, web application. Simply, you can call website also after hosting. Okay, so this actually, we can also call it as a client. Okay, some people call as web client. No mistake, whatever you call here, web client or web server, whatever you call, that's fine. Okay, now this web server is going to make the request. Okay, so here, from here, we are going to make the request to web server. Okay. Always remember, whenever a request is made, request always goes to controller. Some design changes will come for Spring. It's not a Spring. I'm explaining only MVC. Still, I did not come to Spring Boot here. I'm just explaining only MVC. Once you understand the MVC, then I'll come to Spring Boot specific designing here. Okay. So here, observe, whenever you made any request, from browser, then request will come to controller. Okay, based on some URL and all here. Generally remember, request majorly contains some URL or address. Okay, not only that, so many things will be there. Majorly, it's a request, nothing but address or URL. Okay, this controller will read the request and it will process it. Okay, if it is required, it will communicate to database, but that I'm not mentioning here. Okay, this controller, if some data exists, okay, it will store the data in a memory called model. Okay, this actually model. Okay, model will store the data in the form of key and value. In simple, you can call it a map representation, not a issue, but model means it's a memory. It will add the data to model. Add data to model. Okay, so here, once it is done, what it is going to see here, okay, it will process the request here. What exactly controller will do here? It's a process request. It will process the request. If any data is there, it will add the data to model. Then finally it is going to send data. Okay, here one view component will be there. It's a view. We can also call the UI component. Okay, so controller says, hey view component, you must be sent back to browser. You must be sent back to browser. Get ready with your data. Where is my data? It says, go and read from model. Go and read data from model here. Okay, so we can send the data. So that's actually read data here. It will read the data from model. Okay, such a process is actually called as a render. Data render, reading the data. Okay, data rendering will result always different UI. Okay, means for example, what is the meaning of rendering here? I am writing something like hello, something name. I am writing like this, hello name, dollar name. Okay, this is one syntax. Okay, name every time changes. For example, Sam is logged in at runtime, hello Sam, it will become. Okay, if it is another user, something like hello Ram. So if it is another user, it's going to be hello Sayed, like this. So output changes at runtime. This data, whatever you see, it comes from the model. It comes from the model. I wrote code like this in the program, but here at runtime, it is converted into this process here. Such process is data render. A simple thing, read the data from model at runtime. Okay, and replace the keys with data. Replace keys with values, actually here, data render. Once data rendering is done, then this is given back to browser as a response. This UI page will be given back to browser. This is a response. That response will be displayed here. This is a simple MVC. Model, view, and controller. Okay. So flow I'm showing here. One, enter URL in address bar. That will make the request. Request goes to controller and it will process. If data exists, it will add the data to model. Okay, then it will go to UI. It will read the data from model and it will render the data. Okay, and it is giving as a response back 8 and it will display output. Display the result. Okay, what end user is doing here is just doing step number 1 only. End user means you are the person, okay, or human, general, normal, regular person who is actually using his laptop or his mobile and typing something like gmail.com. Okay, you are called end user. Okay, here end user means person. So this person is entering the URL here. Observe carefully. Now look at this flow here. End user first entering the URL address bar gmail.com. Then it is making the request. Request will go to controller. Controller will process the request. It will add the data to model. Okay. So then it will tell here, go to UI. Step number 5, go to UI. Step number 5 says, controller says, go to login page. go to register page or go to inbox page. UI means one UI page, one page, one web page. Okay. Controller says go to login page. Controller says go to inbox page. Controller says go to admin page. Controller says go to settings page. Okay. It says okay, fine. And it is going to do here, once you get the UI, it will read the data. It will read the data here, such a process. Okay. So after reading the data, it will replace the key with value, replace such kind of keys with some values. Such process is actually called a data render. Data render. Okay. You can combinedly give this one, but I'm just giving understanding, reading and replacing. That is actually data render. Once it is done, finally we got some output here. Okay, finally we got some output here. Then this is given as a response back to browser. It will display the result. Okay, this is standard MVC design pattern. Okay, whether it's a Java, .NET, PHP, Python, it doesn't matter here. Okay, MVC is a universal standard. It's a global standard. Do you want to design one application using MVC pattern? This is a common pattern. Whether you use any language, any technology, it doesn't matter here. This is general MVC concept. In case of Java, controller is a class. In case of Java, model is a map. In case of Java, view nothing but JSP. Okay, especially in case of Java here, I'm just giving here for Java. Okay, controller nothing but class. Okay, I'll give separately here better. Controller nothing but a class. Okay, view nothing but user interface, finally visible to end user. It can be HTML or it can be JSP, Java server page. But I show a different one here. We are going to learn. It's a theme leaf. Okay, non-Java UI if you want to use, then MVC is not going to be used here. At that time, we have to use something like a RESTful web services. Okay, these are all Java based UIs only. No, sir, I want to use Angular. Okay, I want to use React. Okay, no, here it is not supported. For that, we are going to use Spring Boot Web. That is actually RESTful web services we have to use. Okay, non-Java UIs if you want to use. These are all Java-based UIs. JSP, Java server pages. Okay, so that is actually Java-based. Theme leaf also Java here. Java-based UIs, these are all. Okay, non-Java based UIs how to use, I'll show here. Model means data. It's of actually type here. It will store the data. It is a process of storing data in key and value format. Of course, you can call map, not a issue here. It's a MVC here. Okay, understand some points I'm saying here. Okay, let me explain some points here. Once it is done here, I'll come to Web MVC, that is actually Spring Boot specific here. MVC is a design given to implement web applications using any language and technology. Okay, language independent and technology independent. MVC makes application implementation and testing, maintenance easy. In the future, if any problem comes in the controller, just go and check in the controller only. Okay, no need to modify any model or view. In the future, any problem comes in the view, No need to modify in the controller. Okay, simply they are divided. Previously everything is a mixed. Okay, now they said no, separate it and develop this one. Okay, so it's actually, if you have any problem in one area, okay, no need to modify another area. A simplification they gave here makes application implementation, testing, maintenance easy. Okay, that makes everything easy here. Okay, so that is actually makes application implementation and testing easy. That's actually major thing here. Okay, request made by client. A request made by client will always processed by. Enables the videos in the middle, that makes actually problem. Okay, please disable your webcams. Okay, so here, yeah, if you are using this design here, okay, controller and all here, so modification, maintenance, coding, everything is easy. Okay, and remember, whenever any request made by browser, always processed by controller. Request made by client will always processed by controller. Okay, what is controller? In case of Java, controller is a class. We'll go for a specific Java representation here. Okay, it will process the request. Controller, after processing request, stores data in model. It's a memory that holds in key is equals to value format. Then it will execute, it will call or execute whatever you call here UI page to send response to browser back. Okay, that's actually, it will call the UI page. We can also call the view UI page. Okay, view will read data. It will read the data. Okay, view is a component. View is a component. It will read the data from where? Model. Okay, from model based on keys. Understand here? A simple syntax I'm just giving. Okay, of course, this may get changed based on the UI technology. It's a key. Okay, if you have learned Angular, there we used to write something like open brace, something like a key or variable and close brace. Okay, even Angular also MVC based only. Okay, so here mainly to display design UI representation here, or presentation section it is used. Okay, it will read the data from model based on the keys here. Okay, key at runtime replaced with value. Such process is called as data rendering. Data rendering. Okay, here we have the key. Key is replaced with value. First, it will read the value based on the key and replace the value. Such process actually data rendering. Reading and replacing, everything is called data rendering. Okay, once data rendering is done here, okay, then finally view is returned back to browser in HTML format. Okay, understand, always remember, browser understands only three things. Do you know what browser can understand here? Browser can understand only three things. One is HTML, second one is CSS, third one JavaScript. Whatever the concept you write, that should be finally converted to this format. Okay, whether you write jQuery internally JavaScript. If you write Angular finally converted to JavaScript. Okay, or if you write JSP, that is a finally converted to HTML. Okay, even of course Angular, HTML, and JavaScript. Any UI technology should be converted to finally HTML file only. Of course, that HTML every time it is going to be changed, it's going to be similar, static or dynamic that we are going to get. Okay, so that we are going to see some points later here. Finally, response returned back to browser, that is actually, remember, always you will get a view in HTML format only. In case of web applications, I'm speaking here. RESTful applications, it is going to be something like JSON or XML that we see later. Okay, general web application specific I'm giving here. Understand? Okay, so finally response will be in the form of HTML because browser understands only HTML. Okay, whether you write JSP or whether you write theme leaf or mustache or any velocity UIs. Okay, so here any technologies you use or any language you use here, finally that should be converted to HTML format only. Understand, that should be finally converted to HTML format. Okay, repeating the flow for a second, concentrate. Okay, enter the URL in address bar that makes the request goes to, that is actually server. Okay, first it will communicate to controller based on the path and all. Okay, controller will process the request, add the data to model if exist, else empty memory. Okay, send data to, that is actually, it will say that go to one UI. So this is, it can be login page, home page, inbox page, and all multiple pages will be there. Okay, and then it is going to read the data. Okay, based on the key from the model memory, it will replace the keys with values, render, that is given back to browser, that is as a response, and it will display. Okay, it will display. Now I'm asking a question. If you know, you can give answer. Okay, browser makes the request. Remember, browser makes the request, not end user. End user operates browser. Okay, some people says end user makes request. No. End user operates browser. End user operates browser. Okay, and browser makes request. In how many ways we can make the request using browser? Okay, with the end user interaction here, question is like this: in how many ways, okay, a browser can make a request to server? Okay, and what are they? Okay, so here I'm just giving some points. Understand, note, see, understand here, observe carefully. If you type something in address bar, you are typing something like facebook.com, something, you are pressing enter. This is called entering URL in address bar. Entering URL in address bar here. Observe carefully. Enter URL in address bar. This is one request. And here, if you look at all these are called hyperlinks. These are links. Simply we can call, these are all links. Okay, these are also called as hyperlinks. We can also call anchor tag. Okay, if you click on any link or a hyperlink, if you click on discussion, or if you click on something like pending post, okay, if you click on something like logout links, okay, whatever you see almost in the UI, those are called links. Almost they are actually links, hyperlinks. Okay, if you click on any hyperlink, also request, and we'll be having something like login page, okay, registration page, feedback page, comment page. They are actually called forms. Okay, so we can make request by browser makes a request. Okay, so that's actually by using three different types actually here, three different ways. Okay, observe carefully. Browser makes request to server when end user A enters URL in address bar. Okay, it's a one. Second, on click hyperlink. We can also call it anchor tag. Okay, on submit HTML form. Okay, so something like it's actually login form, register form. Okay, logout is a link. Logout is a link. Okay, view comments or view pages, something here. These are all links, hyperlinks or anchor tags. Enter URL address bar www dot okay facebook.com. You are typing here like this. Okay, these are the ways actually. Okay. Okay, observe carefully. These are the different ways that makes the request. Okay, so enter the URL in address bar. Okay, it's actually address bar here. So if you click on hyperlink, that is also one request. If you click on submit button, okay, submit button on submit HTML form, this is actually here. Okay, so browser makes generally three different ways here. Okay, address bar, you are typing something in the address bar is a one. Okay, and here when you click on hyperlink is a two, submit HTML form is a three, end user interaction. Okay, so here these are actually general understanding. Internally it is actually making as a get representation, post representation, put representation. You might have listened so many words. Okay, I'll just show two simple words here, observe carefully. Okay, one is request, second one is response. Okay, request nothing but observe, request nothing but browser is asking to server. Something browser is asking to server, hey server, can you do this work for me? Okay, response nothing but server is giving something back to browser. Server is giving something back to browser. Okay, how request and response looks. Okay, standard diagram I'm just giving. Okay, don't worry about this diagram here. Okay, you will understand this by doing some examples. I'm just giving a request response standard representation diagram. Okay, it's not only for Java application, for every language, even web service. If you do here, it's actually HTTP request. HTTP request contains two sections. One is actually called as head section. Second one is actually called as body section. Body contains data, which can be in any format, HTML format, XML format, JSON format, okay, or some binary format, stream data format. Different formats will be there. Okay, head contains again one initial line also will be there. It just separates head also into two sections here, initial format and parameters. This above one is actually called initial line. Head contains data, that's actually called header params. Okay, that's actually in the form of key and value. Okay, also contains one initial line. Okay, this initial line changes for request and response. This is going to be different for request and response here. Even response also looks similar. HTTP response also looks similar. This is a HTTP response. Looks similar here. If you take a request initial line, the first one is actually, it's a HTTP method. Just I'm writing as a method. Okay. Next one is actually URL. And next one is actually version, HTTP version. And response is actually going to give here. Okay, first of all, it is going to give something like a version information. And next it is contains actually status code and status message. Okay, only initial line changes for request and response. If you take request or response, only initial line changes. Okay, if we concentrate mainly, what you have to understand here is method. And here what you have to understand is status. First, you should have clarity over these two. Then remaining will be easy, not much complicated here. Method indicates, hey server, do this task. Status indicates what happened finally, that is giving details to browser. Okay, method related to request, status related to response. Request means we are sending to server. Okay, response means we are sending to browser. Okay, method indicates what type of task to be done by server. Understand, method indicates what type of task to be done by server. In simple here, simply you can compare with Java method, but they are standard methods. They actually called as HTTP methods. Do you know how many HTTP methods are there? Get, post, like we have. Okay. So there are total 9 we have. There are total 9 we have. In that 4 are used in the programming generally. It's a get, post, put, delete. These 4 you will see mostly in real time. And also you see patch, head, trace, option, and connect. Okay, remaining you won't see much in real time, but patch you may see recent one. Okay, remaining you won't see here. Okay, these are not for programmer specific, these are for internal server specific actually here. Of course, head also you can use as a programming. Okay, generally in real time you may see these 5. First 4 will be common and patch. Not to worry, I'll explain them step by step. Okay, and here status, if you look at the status, okay, HTTP status. Okay, what happened finally after processing request? Success, failure, or anything here? Okay, final result is indicated by server as a status. Okay, for example, you're asking something, browser is asking something to server, server says yes, success, failure, unable to process, some exception, it has to give here a status. These are actually 5 types. These are actually 5 types. There's actually 100, 101, 102. Some codes will come like this, or 103. Okay, just representation short format. A number starts with 1. It's 100, 101, 102, 1xx we call. That's actually called information. A number 200, 201, 202, some different numbers will be there like this. That's actually called 2xx. That's actually called success. 300, 301, 302, like this will be having. A number starts with 3, that indicates redirected. It's a 400, 401, very famous number. You might have seen 404, page not found. Okay, if you're working with any websites or any programming, previously if you work with servlets or JSP or any web pages, 404, you might have seen. That's actually called 4xx. Okay, so that's actually 404. That's actually client side error. It's a client side error. Okay, 500, 501, 502, some exceptions it indicates here. Server side error. Don't worry, we'll see all these codes. It takes a lot of time to understand these points. I'm just giving some information before starting application. Okay, this is a very lengthy one here. Okay, so these are the different status codes we are going to see. Once we start program, all we are going to see, not to worry about that. Okay, we are going to use everything here. Just I'm giving a overview. Of course, if you have done servlets and JSP, you might have known few of these. Okay, so if you don't know, also not a issue, because I'll explain everything from beginning for my requirement, because it's not only here, even web service also these are all required. Even if you learn something like Angular, .NET, PHP, Python, everywhere these are required and recommended. So from my side, I'll repeat everything here if you know or not here. Okay, understand? HTTP supports two types of messages. HTTP supports two types of messages. One is request, second one response. Request nothing but which is sent from browser to server. It is asking something to server. Response nothing but it is giving finally back something to browser. A request contains mainly two sections, head and body. Head and body. Head section contains initial line and header params. Body contains data, any data format. Response also same head and body, but initial line changes for request and response. Especially method. Method indicates what type of task to be done by server. And in response, status is important. Status code and status message important here. Okay, it's a status code and status message. I wrote in short format status and message. So if you look at, there are standard 9 types of methods we have. In that first 4 you see mostly get, post, put and delete. And status, finally what happened, some result must be given to browser, okay, or client. So successful, some exception came, we have to indicate here some exception came, server side. URL wrong, okay, or the site is not there, something here. Okay, it's an under processing. You went to book my show, book my show went to ICICI, ICICI went to something like a Paytm. So one server to another server moving, it's a redirect. Moving from current server to another server, redirect. Like we have different process that we are going to see one by one here. Understand some points about this. HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It supports two types of messages. They are request and response. Both request response contains two parts. They are head and body. Head contains params in keys equals to value format. Body contains data in any type, HTML, okay, JSON, PDF, document, any format. Both request and response contains starting line that is called as initial line, which is different for request and response. In case of request, initial line is method, URL, and version. Method indicates type of task or work need to be done by server. URL indicates address or location, whatever you call simply here. And version, if you look at here, that is actually HTTP 1.1 current version. Okay, this actually fixed. You can't change that one. That is a browser specific supporting here. Of course, latest browsers only we use almost HTTP 1.1. This HTTP 1.1 only uses all. Okay, so here next one, in case of response, init line is okay, version, status code, status message. I gave short format there, status and message. It's a status code and status message. Okay, so status indicates final result given by server after processing it, which can be success, fail, etc. It's a 5 types, status 5 types given here. You can see here. This is an example status and example methods here. We had to discuss different types of status and methods. Okay, I just gave here. We had to discuss them here. Observe carefully. So this is a simple MVC introduction. Okay, so MVC is actually just a design if you want to implement any web application. If you want to implement any web application, MVC is a design that we are using here. It's a design to implement any web application using any language and any technologies. Okay, it's not a language dependent or technology dependent here. Okay, and that uses a simple concept of request response, and a request and response looks in the standard and exchange this one. Are you clear up to this one, everyone? Okay, still we did not start Spring Boot specific here. Okay, now I'll give some small task. I hope you can do this one. Okay, so I'm just giving one link also here. Okay, just I'm giving a small task. Try to work on this. Okay, so here, what are different HTTP methods, when to use what, explain differences. What are different HTTP status codes? Explain them. Okay, I'm just giving a reference link also if you want here. Okay, hypertext transfer protocol, complete information is available here. Okay, if possible, try to read this, you will get everything here. Okay, so here, so what is syntax, caching here. Okay, and different header parameters you can see. Okay, so what is head? Okay, get, post, put, delete, connect, option, trace and patch, everything. Okay, it's not only for Java, every language here. I'm just giving some links for reference here. Okay, what are header parameters for request and response? Why they are used? Okay, this is not only for Java, understand, it's actually general, everyone. It's a general everyone here. It's every language, even servlets JSP also you work here. These are few questions I'm just giving. Okay, try to find out the answer.